Everyone, Darren Sherbaum, Interim Chief of the Atlanta Police Department. Appreciate you being here to inform your viewers. I'm sitting here once again before a microphone speaking to citizens of this city regarding from what the initial information from the investigation shows is that anger at a time that a handgun is introduced leads to tragedy. In a few minutes you will hear from the commander of our Criminal Investigations Division as he gives you details to that occurrence. And again, this police department is making an appeal that when you're angry, put the weapons down, walk away from the weapons. And that tragedy would be one that I do not want to keep briefing the city on, and that we ask for the city's help in that area. We are attacking crime in the city, and we're reducing crime around the area of gangs, guns, and drugs. But senseless tragedies where anger and guns are at play leads us to once again speak to you on this afternoon in our great city. And so at this time, I'm going to ask our Commander of Criminal Investigations, Deputy Chief Hampton, to come forward to give you information on what occurred here today and in close proximity to this park. Chief.
Good afternoon, everyone. Deputy Chief Charles Hampton, Jr. We have two incidents that I will talk about. The first incident occurred, we got a call at 1:26 for a person shot. While officers were responding to this location inside the park here, the caller updated that it was a male shooting himself. Officers arrived, and we did in fact find a male in his late 60s shot, deceased, with a weapon in his lap, with all indication that it was a self-inflicted wound. We then had a call, came over at Cosby Spear High Rise for a person shot at 355 North Avenue. When we arrived at that location, we found a female in her early 60s shot, deceased on scene. Right now, early indication appears that these two incidents are related, where the individual here at the park may be responsible for the incident at the high rise. I have investigators at both locations to determine and to really put that together, but right now that is the early indications of what's going on.
Question? Chief, just in terms of the last 24 hours, homicide last night, it's been a really active afternoon. Homicides were actually trending down this quarter compared to the last quarter. How do you explain what we've seen in the last 24 hours in Atlanta?
You know, you're actually right. When you look at the homicide trends, they've been actually decreasing since April of this year and are on course at some point to actually go negative over this time last year. But anger is so hard for this police department to predict. We don't know when there's going to be an angry moment that arises and a handgun's introduced. We have been very successful in tackling the gangs that are present in the city that are impacting and driving violent crime. We are shutting down drug dealing operations in this city that is driving crime. But moments of anger, that is why we're appealing to the citizens. We can't stop moments of anger, and we do need individuals to know that that is a combination of a weapon that is at hand is going to lead to tragedy. And I'll tell you what, we also want to thank those that are calling 911 when you see something and you know something. Just our ability to get a clear picture of what occurred today was because citizens took note of something that was unusual and made a 911 call and provided us very critical information to this investigation. Citizens' involvement is another reason we're reducing crime in the city, and the activation of neighborhood watches, court watch, that's also a contributor to the shrinking crime trends that we're seeing in Atlanta this year.
I just want to make sure I understand the two locations of the incidents. You found the man with the gun.
Yes.
And it appears to have been self-inflicted.
Yes.
So is this a murder-suicide investigation?
Again, that's how we'll handle it. And again, we have detectives at both scenes, and once they finish processing scenes and compare notes, I'm pretty confident that that's what we'll determine.
And where was the woman found? Can you give me that address again?
The address is 355 North Avenue.
Is that a apartment complex?
It's a high-rise community.
High-rise, okay.
Yeah. It's called Cosby Spear High Rise.
Cosby Spear High Rise.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know the relationship at this point, or is that
It's still under investigation.
And she was shot. The female in her early 60s.
Yes.
Found shot.
Yes.
And where was the man found again?
In the park right behind me.
Right here in this park.
Yes.
Okay.
The MLK shooting, can you speak to that one, 2524? Do you know the circumstances of that shooting?
Yes. So about 10:26 this morning, officers responded to a call of shots fired. Officers checked the location, didn't see anything. About an hour later, they received another call for a person down, where we did in fact find a male in his late 40s, shot at least one time, deceased on scene. So I have detectives out at that scene, processing that scene, trying to figure out what's going on. We are getting early indications that we may have a car that could possibly be involved. And we had 4 individuals inside that vehicle that we're kind of talking to. Not sure if they are responsible for that homicide, but we'll take them down to headquarters to see if they had any involvement at all. So that's all we have on that call.
Chief, this if not the day, very close to the anniversary of Piedmont Park last year. People are going to think about that. Just, do you have anything to say that too in the park, close to the park, people might be feeling nervous about these don't happen so close?
And Chief Hampton can speak to the investigation. These are not related whatsoever. We know the parks are safe in Atlanta. They are statistically the safest places to be. I live next to a park of the city. I'll probably be in that park tonight when I go home. This was a continuation of another incident not related to this park. It just happens to be where it tragically ended and has no relation to any way to the activity. Once we leave, people return to the basketball courts, people return to the tennis courts, because that is where we as Atlantans share our afternoons, our evenings, and our weekends as our parks.
And again, it's important to say that, again, this incident here at this park can very definitively say that it was self-inflicted. The violence was someone taking their own life, was not any type of violence where he was a target individual. So that there is a clear distinction between the two.
And I may have missed it, but the relationship between the man and the woman.
It's right now we have not determined that. That's still under investigation.
How was he found? There was some question about if he was in a wheelchair or.
And again, I don't want to go into specifics. Some of this information we have yet to do any type of make any notification we can. And so I'd rather not go into the more specifics of how we found individuals.
Right there.
So, I have anything else?
Can we also ask about the one at Atlantic Station today?
Sure. There was a shooting call at Atlanta Station. The officers responded to the area of 17th and State Street on an individual shot in his early 20s. What we did determine is that the incident happened inside of an apartment at Atlanta Station. And what we determined is a group of friends were playing with a gun. During the course of playing with the gun went off, striking the victim one time, and he was transported to a hospital where he was rushed to surgery and currently in critical condition. But as Chief said, again, we gunplay. Again, it's tragic in our city. We have the proliferation of guns, and we're just asking people to be responsible when handling a weapon. But that's what that incident was from 17th Street. Okay, thank you.
The name of this park?
Central Park.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.